And this is the first one I've done since baby was born. So I'm like kind of like antsy.
You're a new dad too. How's that going?
It's going good. It's weird. I think it's. Wait a minute. Did I even start the? Yes, I did. Sorry.
Okay.
I think it's a lot different than I was anticipating. You know, like, I think people either tell you one or two things.
Mm-hmm.
One is you think it's going to be really fun, but it's like a ton of work.
Yeah.
And the other's the opposite, where they're like, everyone says it's going to be so hard, but it's actually super fun.
Yeah.
And I think whichever one you've heard most, your experience is the opposite too.
Gotcha.
So like with me, a lot of people told me that it was a lot of work, it was a lot of responsibility, and like you're taking a step into fatherhood and all that stuff. And so I was like, this is so fun.
Yeah.
We get a little baby, like I like dress him up and like put him in like Michael Jordan onesies and stuff like that. You know, like this is like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
But I feel like if I had the expectation, it'd be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, oh my gosh, I'm up till 3 a.m. He's crying, stuff like that. So it's interesting.
Well, good.
Yeah.
So you're liking it.
Liking it so far. 4 weeks in. Don't want to send him back.
1 month down. Let's go. Keep going.
I know it's a weird thing too. Like pregnancy is 9 months, and it almost feels like you're getting to the end of a, like a race or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like the countdown.
Yeah.
And then the baby's born, and who cares about pregnancy? You completely forget. Like I got this thing for the rest of my life now.
Yeah.
It's kind of heavy.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's kind of heavy. That's true.
When did you guys have your first conversations about kids? Was
about
it
kids?
pre or post marriage?
This is pre.
Yeah?
I mean, Nikel said that the only two things she's ever wanted to do in life is to be a hairstylist and be a mom. And she's already a hairstylist. So
there you go. Halfway there.
Yeah. So we talked about 3 years waiting, but it's probably going to be sooner than that.
Dang.
Yeah.
Are you baby hungry?
No.
I was never baby hungry either.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know if that's just like a dad thing
or it's a guy thing.
A guy thing or like a personality thing. But since we got married, she was. Well, I think it's biological too. I think.
Yeah.
Just because with a guy you don't have the biological urgency because like you can have a kid when you're 50,
right.
But with a girl, I mean
There's a little bit more of an urgency. Yeah.
Like you can have kids when you're older, and not only that, but you can't have kids if you're like really, really unhealthy. It's harder. You know, it's just like a hard process in general.
That's true. Yeah.
1 year into your marriage, right?
Yeah, 1 year. This month, the 27th, we will have been married 1 year.
27th of June.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you have to tell people
in
that
1
are
year
just
of marriage?
What's the first year taught you about being married?
I don't know. It's fun, and don't sweat the small stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's been great. It's been easy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's supposed to be if it's your best friend.
Right.
Unless you like have some like outer like factors that are trying to ruin your life, whether it be in-laws or job situations or pandemics or things like that.
Or Kobe dying.
Yeah, a lot of 2020 stuff coming at you. But I feel like if it's just you two and you know what you want to do and you have the same goals, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I felt like that too. I actually kind of felt the same analogy I gave about having a baby.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the same way with marriage.
Okay.
Where people were like, it's super hard. You have to work out every day. I'm like, this isn't hard. This is fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to describe too, because it's your whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, how was your entire life?
Yeah.
How do you answer that question?
Yeah. And you're always, I mean, at least for me, I'm always just making sure that we're both like happy, doing what we want to do, and just, I mean, it's like taking care of a baby in one way.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure they have food, they get enough sleep, and they're not sick. That's pretty much it.
I know. It's kind of funny. It feels kind of like I inherited a mom sometimes. You know, she's like,
yeah.
Did you wash your hands? Like, you know what? You're right. I didn't wash my hands.
Like, okay. I guess I'll go back and do it.
Yeah, go back, turn on the sink, don't even wash my hands.
Yeah, and then you just come out going like this.
I swear, they're clean. No, it's fun. It's that's actually a good analogy. Like the amount of work to fun. At least I've only had a baby for a month, so it's not like I really know. Right. But in the first month, that's what it feels like. Where it's like a really fun, exciting thing that requires work and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of similar to my first year of marriage too. It's like, if I think of this as only fun, then it kind of sucks. If you're like, I'm gonna go only have fun, so I'm gonna get married,
Mm-hmm.
then all of the hard things feel a lot harder.
Yeah, it's true.
Because you're focusing on the wrong thing.
Right. Exactly. There's got to be a good balance.
Yeah. I was actually telling my wife this the other day. It's kind of funny that we're talking now. So my brother's a photographer. He does real estate photography.
Okay.
He's done it for a long time. And so we always talk about stuff like that, even though I don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a little bit older. He's like in his 30s. So he didn't really utilize social media, I feel like, as much as he could. And now he is. So I was thinking about like, yeah, social media, if you want to be like a big photographer, you got to do that. And then I kind of went back in my head to when we graduated from high school. Mm-hmm. And it kind of seemed like there was like a million people that wanted to be a photographer right out of high school.
Yeah.
And that was what, 8 years ago?
8 years ago.
And like, I've seen them kind of falling by the wayside with, like, for lack of a better term. Kind of
die off, per se.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one thing that's actually been really cool to me is that you're succeeding so much in the way that you are. And so I've like been watching it, kind of like creepily stalking you like for years now. And I don't know, I think it's really cool because, there was a point in time when there's all these people that I would have thought, oh, Spencer's like the same as this guy from high school, or the same as this guy. But now I can hardly think of any of those guys that are still doing it. And yours is not only still there, but like...
Keep going.
Yeah, it's like exploded.
Trying.
Yeah.
Right out of high school, I mean, you remember Tyler Shelton and like Jackson and those guys.
Yeah.
We really like just going out and like taking pictures. Mm-hmm. And it was, honestly, for me, it was more of a social aspect. Like, I did yearbook in high school, which I took photo. I was like Mr. G's like lackey per se. Mm-hmm. And it was really fun because I got to be at all the high school, like football games, basketball games, all that kind of stuff, but also like capturing, taking pictures, that kind of thing. And I liked kind of like being there, but at the same time not being there because I was behind the camera, kind of thing, which like is kind of like a weird way to look at it. But now I'm like, I hate pictures being taken of me. Like I hate like that.
That's
thing.
Funny.
But after high school, just kind of kept doing it, and like Tyler and Caden Smith and we went down to Dixie, and we actually like showed up and we made like one GoPro video of like stuff that we were just doing like for fun. And they're like, hey, you guys are going to run our social media page. And we're like,
oh, dang.
Okay.
For Dixie?
Yeah, it was just for one semester. But like,
sweet.
It was super fun. Got to know tons of cool people just based off the pictures and the videos that we would make, which like we didn't know what we were doing then. And then we went on our missions and came back and I bought a little camera. And then Maddie Goad.
No.
Okay, so Freddie's younger brother, Trevor Shelton, he married her.
Oh, okay.
But theirs was the first wedding that I did, and that was in
I saw that on Facebook. You said
it was in
something
2016,
about that.
I think. Yeah. And so that was the first wedding I did, and I hadn't done any weddings before that.
Okay.
And she's like, "Can you be our wedding photographer?" I'm like, "Sure."
Jeez.
For the right price, I can do anything, kind of thing, And so since then, I just kept like taking on new clients, and kept charging more and more, and now it's like my full-time, almost side hustle. If that makes sense. Because I teach at the high school.
Right.
Which is fun.
And what do you teach?
Photography.
Okay.
Yeah. So I teach there, but I only teach on 8 days, so it's every other day.
Okay.
Which gives me a lot of time to still go on those trips that I need to do for like weddings or for like content and that kind of thing. So it's been a good way to have benefits.
Yeah.
While still pursuing my dream in that kind of way.
And I mean, it's kind of in the same avenue as your dream too.
Yeah.
I mean, sharpening your skills.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
yeah.
Dang, is it weird being back in school?
Yeah. Well, especially not a lot of the teachers that are there when we were there. Like the only ones Bergholm, Rex Birmingham, the Woods teacher, some of the English teachers, but I only had like one of those, obviously.
Yeah. Because did I go to Skyridge? Is that what?
Yeah, a lot of them did go to Skyridge.
Yeah.
And some of them even are now up at the new one, Cedar Hills.
Mm-hmm.
That's not Cedar Hills. It's Cedar Valley.
Right. So
Yeah.
I don't remember
That
something
one.
like that.
Yeah. Some of them are even up there now. So it's kind of a new. It's weird being on the other side and being a teacher and seeing like all the meetings, all the things like the way you should be teaching, and
They
honestly,
like joke with each other. Like
oh yeah,
teachers
like yeah, they're
slap each other's
friends.
butt,
Not like that. Totally. I mean, the coaches do, but it's weird being
weird.
in that like, oh yeah, you're a teacher too, kind
We're
of thing.
peers.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is strange.
So we all have the same issues as far as like students, and like we can all talk not bad, but like about that one hard student because like, oh, I have him. Like I know exactly what's going on, kind of thing.
That
so
blows my mind.
It's weird, but it's fun. And I guess summer's off, so.
Yeah, that's sweet, especially if you're doing a lot of wedding photography.
Yeah, summer's big for that. So.
Maybe this is wrong. Maybe this is just the way I've observed it, but it seems like with your social media, it was like a slow growth and then like a really fast all at once.
Yeah, so
is that true?
It's true. What happened is that it was like kind of the beginning of 2019, I'd say. Or not, it was like end of 2018 into 2019 was when like I wouldn't say that I peaked, but I experienced a lot of growth because of the people I surrounded myself with. Other creators, other like photographers, other videographers.
Right.
And I was able to network with them that brought in a lot more clientele, but also I could piggyback off of their followers to get more followers from me, kind of thing. So like, oh, I'm shooting with this person today, or I'm doing this, and we're doing this together. Let's everybody come and do this together, kind of thing. And so I think that's when Instagram also was very like, let's make everybody's work be seen. Whereas now it's very selective. If you haven't liked someone's post or you haven't seen them, it's because you haven't like checked their page in a while.
Right.
And
like
so Instagram is like, it's like throttled almost.
Okay.
It's like throttled people like me. And then there's other people who like, not that they get lucky because they're also really hard workers and they might just do the right hashtags, or they might like shoot with one certain person and they're getting a lot of like being seen. So it's kind of unfair the way things work now.
Sure.
And so I've seen like obviously a lot of things that have throttled my like likes and like comments and that kind of thing, but clients keep coming, so I don't care. So
since they changed the algorithm, you said that it's slowed you down.
I wouldn't say it slowed down my like clientele as far as like getting work in,
right?
But it slowed down my growth as far as who's seeing my stuff.
Sure.
But I still keep getting referred by old people I've worked with and like friends and family and that kind of thing. So I'm not like I'm not trying to get bigger than I am right now. I'm just trying to keep working, if that makes sense.
Do you think, how big a deal do you think it is that people like you to get referrals and stuff, as opposed to just how good a photographer?
Oh, I think sometimes it's even more. Like sometimes I think the experience with a person can, even if there were a few hiccups or a few things that you didn't like about the person, the experience is like worth it. So I think it's like, I mean, it's so important because, I mean, let's say you go to a hotel, all the staff is super nice, but like there's like a hair in your sink or something like that. You're not going to remember that really because the staff was so nice and they were super helpful and they helped you with everything that you needed that you want to go back and you refer everyone to that place.
Yeah.
So I feel like
it's
it's similar.
Relationships.
Yeah. And I try and with my couples, I try and reach out and like talk to them as much as I can to try and get the vibe they're going for. But then again, it kind of comes back to that argument where it's like, how, like, I'm not going to change my style for you. You hired me for my style.
Sure.
So if you're expecting something else, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. So. Yeah,
it's kind of a tough line to walk. So my wife is a graphic designer.
Okay.
She does a lot of wedding stuff too, like wedding. Like I noticed you guys have the calligraphy. She does a lot of wedding calligraphy, signs, stuff like that. And it is tough to find, like, hey, this is my brand, and this is exactly what I look like and I like, but also I want to make you happy. And like, if you go too far to one side, then all of a sudden
you lose your own like integrity.
Yeah.
Almost. But then it's also like, okay, well, if I'm trying to make money off this, then I need to cater to the client. So you got to find that balance.
Yeah, that's tough.
Oh yeah, it's hard.
I wonder if like big businesses deal with that too.
Yeah.
Because like as a person, you're a business, but you're a person, and so it's easy to say, hey, this is what I like and what I don't like. But you look at like a graphic design company or a photography company or a studio, like I wonder how hard it is for them to really define their brand and to not stray from it for more money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, and I mean, that's why kind of we have contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And a client can tell me like, hey, we like these kind of tones, and I'll do my best, but I still have to make it look like my work.
Right.
And if it is totally changed, I'm like, you know what, like, don't worry about tagging me, like, it's okay. But you still need to be proud of it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But with graphic designers, your client makes the decisions. And that's why it's hard. But with like calligraphy, that's different because it's obviously your own handwriting and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So with each, with each like thing, it's hard because companies like bigger companies are like, nope, we don't like that video you made for us because it's not us.
Right. Yeah.
So then it's like, okay, well, I made you need to pay me. I made you this thing. You need to pay me for my work because this is my style of work.
Mm-hmm.
Like you should have hired somebody else if you want a different style.
Yeah.
It's really hard because then you might piss some people off. You might not get more clients because of that. So it's hard to find that like happy medium.
How would you describe your brand visually? What do people get when they hire you as a photographer?
So, well, obviously they get me as a person,
right?
Which, I mean, everyone has bad days, but on the wedding day, let's say I do. That's where I make most of my money is off of like weddings.
Mm-hmm. Like the day shoot, not like engagements and
well, it's like all of it.
I guess
but like the day of the wedding is where you make the most because it's the longest time that you're working like consecutively with them.
Do they contract the whole thing usually? Usually
we try. Usually, I mean, it's easier that way. But I understand when they're like, oh, we're getting married somewhere else, so we're gonna hire a photographer there. And I'm like, okay, totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I try and be as happy as possible as I can on the day of. I like congratulate them, like you guys look great, like that kind of thing, because I mean it's their happiest day of their life.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be a source of contention or a source of like issue for that day. You're there to capture all the moments and make sure sometimes everything runs smoothly. Like there are times when I've had to be the MC and be like, hey, we're trying to be here till 9:00. Okay, well it's 7:45. We need to cut the cake. We need to dance. We need to do this. We need to do that, or else it's not going to get done. And then I have to go find the mom or dad or whatever. I'm like, hey, I need you to announce this. They're like, oh yeah, okay. And so I end up almost being the wedding planner sometimes. But it comes as a part of the job because like I want to make sure they get their money's worth. And I'm like, hey, if you contracted me here till 9:00, I'm gonna stay late if I need to, but like more than 15 minutes, I'm like, we got to figure something else out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to make sure that they have a good time, but also that everything gets done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that attitude is a big part of it, of what they get when they hire me. But also like as far as like my style goes, I try and stay true to their skin tone. I don't like to make them look orange. I don't like to make them look blue or like cold, like cold or warm tones, that kind of thing. I like to stay like somewhere happy in the middle. I like the colors to be natural, and if that means that it's like really bright and like saturated as far as like the grass is the right tone of green, that kind of thing, but it's just brighter, and so it kind of like pops a little bit. Right. But I think the best way you can like change between photographers is the way that they edit the skin tones, and that's like half the reason people hire me, I think, because a lot of Utah photographers will go really orange on their edits, and it's not even it's like it's almost brown in a way. Yeah, and it's a little desaturated, so it's not like a whole lot of color. But I try and make sure that the dress looks really white, that it's not like orangish or tan or anything like that, that his suit looks black if it's black or blue or whatever. And I just try and say natural.
Do you do any presets? Do you sell presets?
I don't sell. I use other people's presets. Yeah. So I have like, I know like how to tweak them to get the way that I want it to look. But I just never, I mean, I'm using other people's, so I'm like, why would I create one off of what they did? It's basically their work. So, and I don't know. I've just never thought like, I don't think anybody would buy mine kind
I
of
bet
thing.
you'd be surprised.
You know, probably, but like at this point, I'm like, you know what, like I just try and stay true to like skin tones and like maybe this here and there, but I use other people's a lot. So, and I use there's like 3 that I use like on most of my work, depending on what like vibe I want, kind of thing. But they're all other people's.
Huh, interesting. I feel like when I look through your page, it's like a very uniform feel without being repetitive. Like like I look through and there's a picture of like Nickel at that studio with like pink in the background, and then like the color and the clarity and the sharpness always kind of seems like it matches, but the actual, I guess, images are so different that you don't. It doesn't feel like you're just churning them out.
Right.
You know?
And I mean, that's the idea. I think mostly is because I use the same lens for most of my stuff.
Probably.
It's probably one of the reasons why. Yeah, because it's kind of the same like focal length. Because focal lengths will
what does that mean?
Distort. Focal length is like how far it's zoomed in.
Okay.
Because if you're zoomed out, it's almost like a fisheye lens where things are starting to get distorted a little bit. But I use one that distorts like just a little bit, but all it would do is make them look taller, and like that's it. Yeah, or like maybe like a little skinnier, and that's it, which people like, of course.
Right.
But so I think that might be part of it. But that's good to hear. Thanks.
Do you have like certain things that you basically do every time, no matter what? Like, do you have a checklist?
Kind of. I mean, mentally, yes. And then also, like, while I'm there, if I'm shooting, like, with a couple, like, their bridals, like, say we're doing some bridals, I have, like, my go-to poses, obviously. And then I see them doing something cute that I, like, didn't tell them to do. I'm like, wait, stop. Do that again. Like, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, but, yeah, I do have, like, a mental checklist I kind of go through. Got to get pictures of the bride by herself. Like, some details of the dress, of, like, her earrings, or, like, just her eyes, that kind of thing. But it's mostly because when I got off my mission, I started working. I did summer sales for a second, which sucked. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I did DirecTV, and it's funny.
Where did you go?
I went to Amarillo, Texas.
Okay.
So that was the first summer. The next summer.
Oh, you did it more than one summer.
Well, okay. So I did you know how like they do like blitzes throughout the year, like for Black Friday, or like you'll go out like for a weekend to sell somewhere.
Sure. Yeah.
So I did some of those too.
Like before the summer? Is that what we're talking about?
This was post my first summer.
Okay.
To like go out and sell, because they'll fly you out, like they'll pay for you to go out there and like sell.
See, I didn't know that.
I mean, this company did. I don't know if other ones do that sometimes, but like we did. When was it?
Because I did pest control, so it was like basically only the summer. I mean, depending on the location.
Yeah, we went to. So Amarillo was my first summer, and then we went to Dallas for a couple of like. Here, let's go over Thanksgiving break, because nobody works, right? So everyone's like home.
Yeah.
So I think we flew out like the night of Thanksgiving, like after, like it was like late, and then we sold Black Friday and that Saturday, and then I think we just came home on Sunday. Just like go hard for 2 days, try and make a bunch of sales, that kind of thing. But then the next summer, I found a different job, and I was working at the high school still, but I wasn't a teacher yet. I was what's called a CTE specialist, where we just helped with like the whole CTE program, like made sure I was like a secretary basically. Like, hey, what do you guys need? Do you need supplies? What do you guys need? What can I go pick up for you? That kind of thing for the teachers. And I was going to school full time, and I was working at this studio called Camera Shy. I don't know if you've ever been there. Yeah. There's one in AF. There's one in University Mall. Yeah. Okay. That's the one. So I was working there. I worked there for 8 or 9 months. And they taught me a lot as far as like, it wasn't like as far as like taking good pictures goes, but it was like quick editing skills, because we would take pictures for an hour, and then we would have to have their pictures back to them within an hour. So you would take up to 400, 500 pictures during that hour, and then you have to give 60 to 90 back to them edited within the next hour. So you had to like crank them out super quick. Yeah. So then because of that, I was working at the high school, going to school full time, working at Camera Shy on Saturdays, and it just became too much. And I was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to quit. And I'd already worked there a long time, and I even like copied their presets and started using them on my own stuff just because I really liked the way they looked and that kind of thing. But I learned a lot of like those checklist things that you're asking about. Like,
Yeah.
okay, what kind of poses? Like with big families, I'm like, okay, let's get the whole family. Let's get grandparents with the grandchildren. Let's get just the siblings, just the girls, just the guys, just the grandchildren. Like, there's all these little things to do and go through. That I learned that from there. Because we would also do bridals and like engagements and that kind of thing. But it was mostly all in studio, not outside.
Right.
But I liked outside shooting more than inside. But they were using Canon and I was using Sony at the time. So it was a big difference with like coloring and that kind of stuff.
Right.
So anyway, so I quit there and then I started working. I even went out. So once summer hit, I was still doing school, just like online, like a few classes, I think, like one or two. But I went out to go sell again. This was 2017, yeah. Okay. Summer of 2017. I was out there for a week and I was like, screw this. I drove all the way to Austin, which was 24 hours to get there, which is way far. Yeah. So I drove there with a buddy of mine and we went down to go sell, and it was my friend's brother who's already out selling. And then a week into it, I like made like 4 sales. I'm like, I hate this. So I drove back. And on my way back, which was 24 hours, by the way, I didn't stop. I went to Moab, hiked the Arches, got back in my car, and then
just by yourself?
Yeah, just by myself.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was super fun.
That's super cool. Like, screw you guys.
I was like, screw you guys. I don't want to do this anymore. And like, I didn't have like a legal obligation to be out there. I didn't sign any contract or anything.
That's good.
They're like, just come out and sell.
They didn't like hunt you down or anything.
No, they were super chill.
That's way.
And it's funny because the guy who like was our manager, that's whose house I'm moving into.
Oh, cool.
So he's like still super chill guy. Yeah, exactly. And he's like super awesome. He they just had a baby as well, but he's like 35.
Still sell?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But he does managing more, so he'll help the kids go out and sell kind of thing. So he doesn't do a lot.
That's what you want to do. I mean, those guys make tons of money. They don't even have to do it.
Because they have all those guys under him.
Yeah.
But he's like 35, like I was saying, but he is like wanting to be like younger like us. So he always wants to hang around us, kind of thing. He's super cool guy.
Backwards hat on.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
super
funny.
Cool guy. But
I feel like that's who I'm gonna be. When I'm like 40,
probably
my kids, I'm like, hey, youths.
You're like, what's up, you?
Hey, street youths.
Oh man, that's freaking funny.
Do like the whip and nay with them or something.
Yeah,
you know?
or whatever the new dance move is.
Oh yeah.
TikTok probably won't even be a thing anymore.
I already feel old because I see those stuff and I'm like, like my sister's like doing all of it.
Doing
like,
it.
What the heck?
You're like, what is this? Yeah. TikTok is crazy. It's blown up so much.
Do you do it? Do you have TikTok?
I have one. I don't make any videos. I just like to watch them.
Too. I have one too. I like never really been on it. I should. It's a part of me is kind of like all those guys who said that Facebook or Instagram were not going to be big, and then they missed out on the chance. Sometimes I'm like, am I doing that?
Yeah.
Am I doing that
about
with TikTok?
Yeah. I mean, because at the beginning we thought that it wasn't going to be anything.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what. I mean, you don't know what it is to begin with, but now it's. I mean, that's where all the popular influencers are, and all those kind of people. Even celebrities are on it, making little videos. Even if it's reposting their old stuff, they still do it, and they get tons and tons of views. So
I hope that I'm not like outgrowing, my trends and like the ability to know what's relevant and stuff like that.
Well, I was thinking too the other day because someone, I saw a quote somewhere. Or maybe I was listening to a video or whatever, but they talked about how you get to a certain point in your life and you're like, I don't need any music. I've got everything I need right here in this library, or in my mind at least. I don't need to hear anything else because I'm good. And you can tell that happened with our parents because anything new, they're like, this is like gangster trash or
sounds like
whatever.
Noise. What
exactly,
is this crap?
exactly. Yeah. And like, I don't want that to happen to me.
Yes.
Because I'm always researching like new music or like New Music Friday or whatever. I listen to all this stuff, even though it's mostly like R&B and like rap stuff that I'm not like a huge fan of.
Yeah.
But I think the same thing will happen with like trends, where we'll be like, you know what, I got too much going on in my life to even think about whatever that is. I'm sure it'll happen to us at some point.
I mean, it happens to me sometimes now, and I think part of it is like these feelings that no one likes to talk about, where you like kind of miss being in the cutting edge of young things.
Oh yeah.
And like being the kids who drive, in the middle of the night to St. George for a party.
Yeah.
Like there's a part of you that wishes you were still that kid.
Yeah. And
so when you see these kids doing it now, it's not quite jealousy, but it's kind of like, oh, you don't even know what's cool.
Yeah.
Like, trust me, we were cool.
Yeah. Like what we used to do.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they're like, you're a loser. And you're like, shut up.
Yeah.
But like me being at the high school, I feel like
I
feel like I've stayed pretty on top of things,
Uh-huh.
not just because of them,
Yeah.
but because like I'll say stuff to kind of gauge where they're at with certain like topics or like social media things that are happening, that kind of thing. I try and like say things, and if they respond like well, I'm like, okay, I'm still good. But if they don't,
I haven't lost
I'm
it.
like, yeah, exactly. So I'm always like trying to gauge like where I'm at with them, because I like tell them, I'm like, look, I'm pretty young to be a teacher. I mean, I didn't go the traditional route of teaching. Like, I still got it, okay? I get jokes, and that was racist, or like something like that. You know, I'm like,
that's super funny.
Yeah. So I try and stay on top, but it gets harder and harder because I only can be on Twitter so many hours a day.
Oh, I know, and I feel like at some point, like there is too much of that. You can be too, like locked into what's trendy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're like a 45-year-old man. And you've got on like the new Yeezys, like you know, maybe you should be a little less trendy.
You know, but you see those dads though, out and about with their kids who like are like teenagers, and they're like wearing like, I don't know, they're wearing Vans, like, you know, not short shorts, but like shorter shorts, and wearing like something trendy, like a shirt that's like, oh, like Billabong or something cool, and you're
off
like,
the wall,
exactly, and you're like, oh, like. I can
sometimes.
It is kind of, but then we're getting to that age where it's like, oh, like I still want to be wearing this brand when I'm older.
Yeah,
you know.
I was talking about this with someone recently, and they said they think that you dress to the last time you think you were cool. So like you look at dads now that are wearing, you know, I don't know, cargo shorts and like button ups
in the Reebok shoes or whatever.
Yeah, like the Asics or New Balance or whatever.
That's what they are, New Balances.
And I think my theory is that they like that's what the last time they felt like they were the man, that's what they were wearing. And so you kind of, like you said with music, like you get stuck in what feels the best.
Yeah. And
it's like in your mid 20s or, you know, maybe early 30s, and then that's just kind of like, okay, this is who I am.
Yeah.
I'll just ride it out.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? And you're not forming yourself anymore.
Right. And I feel like it's kind of sad, but I mean, hopefully when we're like to a certain age, we want to be reading different books, not like my dad's super into the Robert Ludlum ones, or like
I've heard that
John
name.
Grisham.
Yeah,
like
John
books,
Grisham.
like those kind of ones. I don't want to keep reading from the same author kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like I want to be branched out. I want to be well read. I want to still be like going to the movie theater because I'm excited to see the new movie or whatever kind of thing, you know?
Yeah.
But you never know how it's going to go.
Little things bother me, you know, like like the first time I noticed I had a double chin. It's like, I fought it for so long. And then like, it's good sometimes to fight getting old, but there's probably somewhere where you should just be like content and just kind of walk into it gracefully, but not like fight it so hard that it looks like you missed your childhood.
Right. It's like lean into it just enough to kind of show others that you are leaning into it, but not enough that you're losing, like you just said, like your childhood, that kind of like thing. But yeah, I agree.
I saw this guy with like a Justin Bieber haircut the other day, and he was like in his 40s. And he had like the like swirly, you know, to the side.
It's weird.
And yeah, it was super weird.
That's weird.
Made me feel uncomfortable.
But I mean, at the same time, it's never too late to change your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it could be, he could be copying his son. I don't know.
That's true. Have you seen that meme that's like, there's something like Batman was 29 or whatever when he decided to be Batman, so it's never too late to have like a gothic phase or something like that.
I haven't seen that one.
It's funny.
That was funny. Yeah, I don't think it's ever too late to like change like how you dress or like your hair like I did. Or like to change who you are completely. I don't think people will be like, what are you doing? But then if you do it long enough, they won't care and it'll just become part of who you are now. Yeah.
Well, I think that being too set in your ways is much bigger of a problem.
Oh, yeah.
I think very few people go too far with the reinventing themselves too many times. I think a much bigger problem is like, hey, I'm comfortable. This is who I decided I was when I was in 9th grade.
Yeah.
I like these things. I wear these things. These are my friends, and I'm not going to change.
Yeah. I think that yeah, if you surround yourself with those kind of people that, I mean, especially if we're talking about someone who in ninth grade decided who they were, who they wanted to be, then like we'd still be riding motorcycles, wearing Fox, like and
big etnies,
and like I don't know,
Live Strong bands from sixth grade.
Well, and I think it's just like you're limiting your potential by not reaching out and finding out other things that you like. Yeah. Like let's say your dad picked up a new hobby, like he found out he loves to go mountain biking. That's awesome. That's a great new hobby. He can go out, he can even enjoy it with his kids, and it can be something that he can obsess about besides like golf or like I don't know, something else middle-aged men do. Bingo, yeah, or puzzles, you know, like
Sudoku.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that you always have to be like trying new things. Like I just picked up pickleball and I love pickleball.
Oh, everyone keeps telling me I gotta play pickleball. I've never played it.
It's great. It's basically tennis but easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like a small court? Mm-hmm. I think I've seen it with like the yellow paddles or something.
They don't have to be yellow, but yeah.
Maybe I've just seen a picture of it.
The ball is yellow, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually a great example. Pickleball. Even a friend of mine just asked me to play pickleball, and part of me was like, I'm not really the guy who goes and plays pickleball. Mm-hmm. For some reason in my head, it was associated even with my identity. Like, oh no, I'm more of like let's go play frisbee.
Yeah.
Or things I was comfortable with, and why would that matter? Who says I'm the guy to play pickleball?
Right.
Right. I think it's
we set ourselves in these boundaries.
Yeah, like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Like I found out what doesn't cause me pain, what people will accept me for.
Yeah.
And like I've found friends in this type of lifestyle. If I change, maybe they won't like me, or maybe they'll think I'm different, or whatever, and then you end up staying in a rut like your whole life.
Yeah. I remember one time when I was in the singles ward, we went to this. It was like a big group date, but you like had to find a date. So I took this girl from our ward, and we went curling, like on the ice.
On the ice?
Yeah, and like it was super random.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I've never done this before, but it could be super fun. And so we did, and it was so much fun. Like we loved it. Like I want to go back and do it again because it was so fun.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, but it's like, who knows? You might be a really good sewer, or you might love crocheting, or you might love doing like all these things. But because like you're kind of set like in your ways, like, oh, that's not me, I don't do that. Mm-hmm. You're kind of limiting yourself from trying new things. Whereas to me, I'd rather be that guy that's good at everything that they try. Mm-hmm. But then if like you're not good, you're like, you can still get better.
Yeah.
I'd
rather even be the guy who everyone knows tries a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Than the guy who just like has his thing.
Yeah. And like think of all the stories that you could tell. Like, oh yeah, I've done that before. Oh, I've been to this place before and we did this. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know, one thing that's cool, it's like you've been up in Salt Lake and shot the tube. Yeah. Have you ever done that? Like the tubes? Yeah, super fun, random. Like not very many people do it and it is kind of dangerous. But like it's one of those things, it's like an adventure that you can tell. So
I think when you're a little bit younger, you're kind of forming yourself more, so you're way more open to like shooting the tube or like doing something crazy or reckless. But as you get older, like you feel like doing that is abandoning who you created. Like, hey, no, I went through my youth so I could be the person I am now. Yeah. I don't need to try new things. Yeah. And then you end up not doing things that probably you'd like. Yeah.
For sure.
Do you ever listen to Tony Robbins?
I don't.
He talks about this. He says like he asks people what their favorite color is, and people will say I don't know, blue, and he asks them why, and they usually can't think of why, and it usually has to do with I just decided at some point. Yeah. And then I was too afraid. Being consistent to myself was more important to me than actually thinking why I like that thing. Yeah. So you make a brand for yourself and then you stick with it. Right. My brother asked me like a year ago or so if I wanted to be in a play with him. Mm-hmm. I was like, I've never done anything like that. Yeah. Like I didn't go to really any plays in high school. I wasn't in the drama department. And so my initial reaction was like, heck no, why would you even ask me? Yeah. And then, I went through the same thought process. Like, why not? Like, who says that I'm the guy who doesn't do plays? Why not? Ironically, I couldn't do the play because we moved. But I kind of regret it, actually. Like, what extra part of me would have I discovered? Yeah. Like, you try something new, you like it or you don't like it, but you realize there's a little bit more to you than you thought there was.
Right.
It might lead you to new relationships or new hobbies.
Yeah. I remember in junior high, I went to Willow Creek, but I did drama. I did intro and
really?
like intermediate drama, and I wasn't like super into it,
Uh-huh.
but I'm like, this could be fun. I need
Uh-huh.
like fine art because it was considered fine art. I need fine art credit. I didn't like painting. I do like drawing, but I wasn't like that good, or I hated ceramics, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but because of that, I didn't pursue it after junior high, but I really like going to see like Broadway plays.
Me too.
And I like the set design. I like all the emotion that goes into it. I like seeing different characters from different situations and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like those kind of things, but like I wouldn't have known unless because during that class we were required to go to 3 plays for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I was like, oh, I actually really like these.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's an expensive hobby because going to plays is expensive.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, this is something that I could do for the rest of my life and know that I enjoy.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Not that I always I'm like, oh, what's next coming out kind of thing. But it's like, oh, like, I'm into that. And then also it gets you into like musicals, different like soundtracks. And then you go into like more like, since I have like the eye for photography, I also am really into like cinematography and like how movies are made. All those like one scene shots that they do in certain movies, like they're incredible because it takes so much planning and effort on not just the casting part, but like they're going to the crew, and it just goes. There's just so many levels to it that I love to like think about those things. Where some people go to the movies like, oh, that was cool, like that was it. But I'm like, wait, how did they do that?
Yes,
you know.
Yeah.
And so I think like the fine arts like in that aspect have always intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it might have been because of like when I did drama in junior high.
Yeah, it gives you a very different perspective. Like I had to film, I remember what it was, some like little thing, like a commercial or something.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly can't remember because it was so long ago. But just being on there, like, oh no, it was a Mormon message. That was it.
Okay,
yeah. I'm in a Mormon message.
Oh.
And
it was your family.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. I was on my mission. I'm like, I know that family.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I was like, I knew I was on set for something.
That's funny.
So I was on set for this Mormon message, and you're totally right. You know, they're like, there's an X on the ground, like, sit here. We're going to have the camera come in. And in the Mormon message, it's all, like, super slow-mo. Mm-hmm. It's actually not even, it's, like, frozen. Yeah. That's, like, the whole thing.
Yeah.
And the camera's, like, swooping through and we're all frozen. And, you know, had I watched something like that without doing it, I wouldn't have really thought about it. Just, like, another effect. Just kind of like you said, to someone who's not thinking about the creative process or, like, all of the different details, mm-hmm. you kind of just take it at face value. Like, you don't appreciate it as much. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was so cool because what they did was they had us freeze, right? And then they got the camera and moved it really fast, mm-hmm. and then slowed it down in post.
Yeah.
So it was like perfectly still.
Yeah.
But I remember so many little details watching it, like the lighting, and they had to stand in certain places and stuff like that. And then they edited it, and I kind of was interested by it.
Yeah.
Literally from then on, I think, like you said, I'm watching a movie and I'm thinking, like, okay, the way that this is staged right now, I can tell that there's like too much negative space behind him in a scary movie. That's probably going to switch and there's going to be something back there. Yep. Or, you know, why did they choose to do this certain color tone or whatever? Mm-hmm. And I love it. Yeah. It's like super interesting.
And I've seen like, I mean, Nikel doesn't really have this eye, and so I'll tell her.
My wife either. She doesn't care.
I'll tell her, I'm like, look, do you see this spot right now? I forget what we were watching, but there was a part where it would go to a flashback. And in flashbacks, it's always different color tone.
Like sepia.
Yeah, it looks different. It's like warmer because, or it's colder. Like it's to show emotion.
Right.
You know
or like when they go to Mexico and it's just like orange every time.
I saw that. I think I saw the meme that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
It was someone was getting pissed. Someone was getting mad because they're like, "God, why do they keep showing these third world countries as like just orange all the time?
Yeah,
Like it's not true. Like there's color there.
Yeah.
Like it's not always orange, you know. But I mean, yeah, it's just how that place is like portrayed. But yeah, cinematography, they can like show like emotion. They can show movement in like so many different ways, and it's crazy.
Yeah, I could get way into that stuff. I think about it with movies. I think about it with marketing a lot. Mm-hmm. Just like the little things you learn about marketing. All of a sudden, you start to realize that you're being affected by it, even if you don't know, that's a point. Like you don't have to be a cinematographer to have cinematography affect you. And so like I remember watching Pride and Prejudice, and there's the scene with Mr. Collins or something. You ever seen it? Pride and Prejudice?
I haven't seen it.
I probably wouldn't have, but it's my wife's favorite movie. And he's like the awkward guy who wants to ask out the main girl. Right? And so they set up the scene where it comes in and there's like a long table, and they have her sit in like the third. And then they have him come and sit right next to her, and leaving like the entire empty space of the rest of the table in the shot. And I remember thinking, without realizing that they had done that, I'm like, wow, I feel so uncomfortable about this scene. And that's the point of the scene.
Yeah.
It's like, it's an awkward scene.
Right.
And I remember thinking, like, what? Why do I have like this tension?
Yeah.
And it's because they did it. Like, they know exactly what they're doing.
It's true. They're so smart. But like talking about like marketing too, is that like, it's true you don't know that you're being affected by something until you remember that part. You're like, oh, that did affect me in a certain way to make me remember that. But
it's kind of scary.
It is scary because they can manipulate your emotions and like honestly your thoughts by one certain like thing. Yeah,
I mean politically, like anything. Like you even like they'll have a picture of LeBron and a picture of a crying baby on my Instagram. I see that enough, and I'm kind of like, oh, is LeBron like a crying baby?
Is he a crybaby? Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah. Like, well, I mean, there's so much going on in the world right now, but there is so much going on right now, especially where we're at, that it's scary, and ideally, the world will never be the same after this. That it will become better, and they will, the government, I don't know, but something's got to change. Right? So, but it's hard to be on one side of things where you're like, I still have to work, I still have to do these things. It's not like I don't have time to be an activist, but at the same time, you're like, I have people depending on me, and so I can't participate and be a part of this. So it's like kind of hard to see it all happen because you're like, what could I have done or someone else could have done to fix the situation?
And there's like a helplessness. You feel small. Like with anything, whether it's George Floyd or it's the pandemic or what the whole list of things that are going on. Yeah. Each one of them, you feel like, okay, if I give all of my effort and do everything I can, is it really going to make a difference? And that's a really depressing feeling.
Yeah, it definitely is, because it makes you, like you're saying, it makes you feel super small and like insignificant. But what else? I mean, we have to just hope for the best.
Gotta do. You feel like when you see something take over social media, you feel like it's like this united front. Everyone's, kind of happened when gay marriage became legal. It's like everyone feels a certain way, and the whole country shifted. And then George Floyd, like everyone pretty much on both sides to different degrees feels the same way. Yeah. It's not like everyone has the same opinion, but everyone's kind of shifted their opinion a certain direction. Yeah. And like you're a part of that. And so you do feel insignificant, but just you doing anything is like the entire ship shifting a little bit. Right. You can't see your own. Yeah, everyone's gotta like do their part, and because it's a mindset shift that we all like have to make, which for our generation I feel like it's gonna be a lot easier than for other generations, because we've always growing up with gay rights movement and like everything that happened, like not just that, but like since we've been alive, like 9/11, we've had to kind of in a way roll with the punches, and obviously create our own like mindset and our own opinions and views on these things, whereas our parents they're already pretty set in their ways, and it's hard for them to change, or harder for them to change. But it's gonna take everybody. Like, I mean, racism has always existed in this country, which is stupid. And I remember my grandpa, before he died, he would throw the N-word around. And but like when you're younger, you're like, oh, grandpa, like that's racist. Silly old man. Exactly.
but it you can't hold on to those like ideas and thoughts any longer because they could affect you one day.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, right now they could be affecting you right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we could go on and talk about white privilege and all these kind of things, but I don't know, something's got to change.
Yeah. It makes you wonder what the world's going to be like for our kids. You know, I think our parents thought that, and I don't think they would have expected
No,
even close to
not
what
at
has
all.
happened.
Not at all. Well, I just seeing some of the pictures, and I browse Twitter quite often right now to see a lot of the bad, but also like a lot of the good, because I feel like that's a good spot where no one's. I mean, people are biased, but they show the truth of their bias,
Right.
kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been scrolling and seeing all these pictures, and like a lot of them could be in our kids' history books.
Yeah.
What's wild to me is that these kids that just graduated, they weren't even alive in 2001
That
for
blows
9/11.
my mind.
Yeah, so they're like they had to learn about it
In school.
in school, which I don't know what they were taught because we lived it and
Yeah.
we didn't have to be taught because we
Yeah.
know what happened
Uh-huh.
and we know where we were when that happened. And now these kids, these guys that are just graduating, they're going to tell their kids, "Oh, I remember where I was when that was happening,
Yeah.
or what I was doing. Like
Yeah.
I just graduated, I was just living on my mission, or I was in Lake Powell with my friends,
Yeah.
kind of thing, you know." Like,
It's such a huge thing. It really
Yeah.
is.
mm-hmm.
You know, we hear about like the attack on Pearl Harbor, or you know, the World War II, or whatever, like the bombing of Hiroshima,
Mm-hmm.
and it does feel like it's from like a novel. It
Mhm.
doesn't feel like people I know cared.
It's
'Cause
like
it's so old.
It's like a very, very distant memory that doesn't belong to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like watching an old movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, living it is very different, and that's kind of one of the weird things about you have kids, and they're completely a clean slate, and so every couple of generations, it only takes like 2 generations. If we didn't teach, you would forget everything that happened.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's why people are so afraid of government and stuff like that, or so touchy with education,
Mm-hmm.
because they're afraid that whatever we tell our kids is going to be their reality. So if we want to manipulate it a little bit in any direction, it'll completely change the future, because that's all that they'll know. They didn't live it like we did.
That's true.
You know?
I saw this this tweet. It was pretty funny. It was like, our generation grew up on books like Divergent, Hunger Games. There was like one more, like Maze Runner or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Like, we literally grew up reading stories about young people rioting and like protesting and
Yep.
doing all these things and making changes. Like, what do you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I like
And I'm
that.
like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because it's true. We grew up like learning. I mean, not like learning, but we did book reports on these younger like people like
Potter.
ourselves, Harry Potter,
Yeah.
like that would riot or protest against evil,
Mm-hmm.
which should always be happening, a protest against evil. But like, what did you think we were gonna do? Like, we know how this should work
Mm-hmm.
and what the end result can and should be.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we stop here?
Yeah.
That kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a very like in your face agenda, but
Mhm.
something's got to change.
Yeah. And it makes me think, you know, our parents, they grew up with the idea, and even more so their parents, of like stability. And so their thoughts were, go get a job, 9 to 5, get a pension, the government will never fail you, the American dream, and then retire and all that. And, you know, over time, that's kind of been disproven, I guess. And so now we grow up with the idea of independence, of standing up for yourself, of your voice matters. That's why entrepreneurs are really big right now. I mean, you know more than anyone, you got like a side hustle and everything. So it makes you wonder, it feels as if this is like the pinnacle of history. You know, like, oh, we figured it out and we made it.
Yeah.
Like, as far as, because this is the only life we know.
Right.
I wonder what our kids are going to have that they're going to think we were so silly for thinking.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to look back at us and be like, you thought race existed? You know, in 50 years, everyone's one race. I don't know. That's just you know.
Or you thought that, you know, the government was going to pay your pension, or that you had benefits till the day you died, or
Yeah.
and you thought all these things.
Mm-hmm.
But then you've got, I don't know, like, I feel bad at one of my, and this was like due to life choices in the beginning, but my dad has always been self-employed, and my mom has like helped him with that. Like, they both do it.
Mhm.
But then his dad was also self-employed for a long time. And right now, my grandma, or at least when she was living here in the States, she was working at Costco, like this. I'm not sure how old she was, but she's pretty old.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sample ladies,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, that's an hourly job. That's not, and you should be, you know, kicking back on a beach somewhere, or
Yeah.
like, you know, in Arizona, living in a trailer park, and that's all you do. You play pickleball or you play golf with your friends, like doing these kind of things that like old people should be doing. You shouldn't
Yeah.
have to be able to work,
Uh-huh.
but it all comes back to like your life choices, you know, because how, I mean, you can hustle for so long and still only make enough money to last throughout the year.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and like, how are you gonna save? How are you gonna like invest in properties, or how,
Mm-hmm.
what are you gonna do, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And it's scary because you're
Yeah.
right, we have no idea what's gonna happen with like the markets, or like the stock
Mm-hmm.
market, or like our entrepreneur like side hustles, or our gigs, or whatever we want to do, like with your brother that bought the gym.
Yeah.
That, I mean, looking at it right now, that must have been super scary for them to do.
Yeah.
And also then COVID-19 hit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure they haven't had people back. I mean, they might open up now. I
Yeah,
don't know what's
today,
going on
actually.
today.
They finally opened up today.
Yeah, but like, there was no way. I mean, I'm sure there was a way someone could have seen this coming,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm convinced that it was all planned anyway. Somehow, you know, in
Yeah.
some lab somewhere,
Yeah.
they're like, throw this out, kind of
Uh-huh.
thing. Anyway, but there's no way any normal person like you and I could have seen this on such a large scale come at
Mhm.
us. And so, how could we have been prepared for that?
Yeah.
How could we have known that millions of Americans would be laid off? How could we have known that we would be receiving these, you know, checks in the mail from the government? Like, thank heavens, because they helped a lot of people, and I know they helped us.
Mhm.
I'm sure they helped you guys too.
We didn't get them.
You didn't get them?
No. We never got it.
Do you make too much?
No, I wish.
Did you check online for it?
It just says like error or something. We just been waiting for
No way.
like however long, like 2 months.
That's weird.
Yeah.
You need to check on that.
I know, right?
You need to make a phone call.
I need to call Trump.
Yeah.
I should tweet him.
Yeah, you should. No, you need to make a phone call, because I think the like United States Treasury, they take care of that stuff.
Yeah, I should. We've been like just kind of waiting, sitting ducks.
Because we did the same thing, and then we realized somehow we had to like verify our tax, like how much we made last year. You guys filed taxes for last year, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised with something like that, because we've moved locations and I've moved types of jobs. Like I have a salary now, but last year or 2 years ago, I was an independent contractor, summer sales.
Gotcha.
So it's like, I'm sure that there's some,
Yeah.
but I don't know where to go. You know? I'll just Google it.
Yeah, Google it, because that's where I found
Yeah.
our thing. Yeah, you put it. It's kind of weird, but you put in your social,
Uh-huh.
and then it kind of tells you like either where it's at or things you need to verify
Mhm.
to put it in. And what was hard too is that I had to like put things in a certain way.
Okay.
Like when it asks you, it's like put in your birth date. It like asks it in a weird way
Right.
without a comma
They're
or something.
very, yeah,
they're
like
very
touchy.
specific. So
Yeah.
then by those fields, there's like a question mark. Click on the question mark because it'll tell you exactly how to put it in,
Mhm.
and then you might be
You know,
able
I
to.
really should look at it. It's
figure it
something that kind of hit right when baby was coming.
Mm-hmm.
Baby's a month old. COVID kind of hit right around that time, and I was graduating.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, okay, I gotta do this. But maybe they'll just send it to us. So I kept like putting it off.
Yeah.
Putting it off. But who couldn't use an extra with $1,200
Yeah.
each?
It was nice.
Yeah, that does sound
It was way nice. I think what did we do? We ended up putting that towards our taxes from last year.
Oh, nice.
So because being self-employed,
Right.
you have self-employment tax, which
Uh-huh.
luckily I pay a lot of taxes at my job at the school,
Right.
like state tax.
Mhm.
So I don't think we had to pay a lot in state, but for federal we did.
Yeah.
I think it was the other way around.
It's so confusing to me.
Yeah.
I was like a not self-employed, but an independent contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Do you pay quarterly?
No.
So I had to pay quarterly. So I was paying taxes like all year, every
Mhm.
year. I never got a refund because I paid like to the exact dollar
Yeah.
and all that. So now I really don't. And this is my first time ever paying taxes with salary.
Yeah.
So
You should be fine.
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, with us, obviously it's super different because we are both self-employed
Mhm.
and we have a lot of write-offs. But what happened in the beginning of this year is when we were kind of going through everything, we made an S corp,
Mhm.
and so we put both of our independent like companies underneath this S corp. Like technically, I work for our S corp, and so does she.
Right, and you like pay yourself a salary almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then that was 1 year, and our CPA, which we went to a guy because I'm like, I have no idea how to put all this together.
Smart.
And
I did that too.
him and his wife both do the same thing. So he knows exactly what boat we're in, like everything that we need to get and whatever. But he's like, do you guys want a house this year? And we're like, oh, we haven't even thought about that yet. And he's like, well, then let's not take a lot of deductions and show that you made a lot more. Mm-hmm. You'll have to pay a lot in taxes. Not a lot, but like you have to pay a good amount in taxes.
Right.
But you qualify for home. We're like, okay, let's do that. Because that way we have the option if we want to do that and that kind of thing. Then the whole credit card situation happens, so that put us back. But self-employment taxes suck.
Yeah, it's frustrating. We're kind of in the same boat. We're looking to get a property at some point, and so I had that problem with my credit where I hadn't had some collections on student loans from literally 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. So we finally figured that out, and then one thing that really surprised me, we paid off our car, and that actually hurt our credit. Did you know that?
That's weird.
Because an open credit line is more important than paying it off.
I mean, I see that, but it's stupid.
The logic of it. I was like, wouldn't this show someone that I can pay my bills?
That you're making enough money to pay it off? Yeah.
And with my wife, she's self-employed. She has an LLC, and apparently you can't use that income towards a house unless you've got 2 years of steady income. And I think she's got a year and a couple months. So we can't even use her income.
Well, that's what was so hard when we were trying to apply for a house too, is because we only had 1 year of our S Corp. Mm-hmm. Next year when we will have 2 years, it'll be so much easier. Yeah. Because it's kind of like your first home that you buy, there are a lot of perks that you can get because it's first time home buyers loan. Mm-hmm. They'll give you a lower interest rate, and they'll help you deal with a lot of other things that they wouldn't normally do if you have done it before, which is kind of funny. But anyway, but there are so many hoops that you have to jump through, and that's one of them. Yeah. The 2 year thing. So next year we're definitely going to try and get into either a townhome or an actual house. Yeah. Because we would love a yard. Yeah. But with a yard comes so many more expenses. Yeah. It's a lot to think about, but yeah, man, money, freaking crazy. Yeah. It's a lot.
Renting and buying, it's not as simple as I used to think. I used to think okay, if I'm paying $1,200 in rent and I could have a mortgage of $1,200, I should just do it. But then, obviously the down payment, and then there's expenses and property taxes and fixing your
utilities, and then buying a lawnmower and all that stuff. It adds up so quick. Yeah. And then your wife's like, "Oh, but we need new furniture," and for this room that nothing's in yet, you know, and we are buying new stuff right now. As you can see, we've got some stuff over there, but we're getting into a bigger place, and so there's more things that we do need, but we do have a lot of it. But Nikhil just wants to replace a lot of it. Yeah. And be like, hey, let's just sell this and get a new one. Yeah. Okay, wait, why? And right now, let's just wait till we get in there, figure it out, and then let's start buying stuff. Instead of let's just do it all right now. But when we were looking for a place to rent, which was so crazy with my credit, is that they were his credit's not good enough, so we need to double your deposit. They need to double the amount down to secure to offset my credit. And I'm like, okay, that means the first month rent with all the deposits and everything, $4,800. And I'm like, what? I do not want to be paying that much. Obviously, obviously the deposits we'll get back, but it was just so much to begin with. Oh yeah. That I'm like, this doesn't even feel right anymore.
I had that same thing happen to me. Yeah. We got married, and I was leaving for the summer, but we got married in February. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't want to have a long contract because I was going to leave in May. Yeah. So we had to get this short contract, and I got denied because of my credit. And this is a couple years ago. And so I'm like, it's only 3 months. Finally.
I could pay all that money right now.
That's what I had to do. I was like, okay, I'll just pay it up front. And okay, fine. So
was it through an actual renter's company? Okay.
It was like a complex.
Gotcha.
And then it was our first apartment, so I forgot to give them the month. I'm leaving. What do they call it? Intent to vacate. Oh yeah. So I had to pay another month. Oh no after we moved, and we did the summer. So I moved to Chicago, and all of a sudden I have to pay first month, last month deposit plus my previous.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was a nightmare.
You're working your butt off trying to make.
I'm I need some sales. I don't care. I'll pay you. Just buy it. And, I need the cash.
Oh man, that's freaking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, buying and renting is a lot harder than like you think.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have good credit, then it's not that hard.
I know. It's like someone told me, like, if you don't need the money, then it's really easy to get money. It's like if you're a millionaire, you can get a loan super easy.
Yeah.
But you're already a millionaire. And people like us, you know, like getting your first house or whatever, you don't have any history.
Yeah.
It's like when people say you need work experience to get a job.
Yeah.
Like, well, how do I get work experience?
You're like, you need 4 years of experience in your field to even think about working here. I'm like,
well, why do you
where
think
am
I'm
I going to
applying?
get this experience? You know,
that's what you're here for.
Yeah.
I need to get the job.
Exactly. Well, then it kind of comes back to that whole like, do I really need college to do my job, or do I really, you know?
Did you do college?
So I have an associate's, but that's it. And then there's this thing that we do at the high school and in Alpine School District, what's called an ARL. Mm-hmm. It's an alternate route to licensure. Okay. So I didn't have a teaching degree when I started teaching, but they're like, hey, come teach for us, get in this program. So I just finished up in April taking classes at Slick, but they're teaching classes.
Okay.
So you only, instead of taking like, I don't know, like all the GEs that you would have to take and like all these other credits and like even internships, that kind of stuff, I just take those teaching classes because I'm already doing the job.
Yeah.
And then they give me a teaching certificate.
Oh, that's nice.
So then I can teach in Utah. So that's what I'm just finishing up with. There's a few more things I have to do, but I don't really have to go back to school for that.
That's nice.
So it's super nice.
I was going to say, like, being a photographer, I don't know. I might have to bite my tongue on this because it seems like the ultimate job where, like, I got to get out there and do it.
Uh-huh.
And, like, I actually took a photography class in college, and I learned a ton, but, you know, like, how much can you learn about that type of a job by just learning instead of, like, getting out there, getting clients, networking?
Right. And, like, I did the same thing. I was in class at UVU, and I was in class at UVU, and I was just, I was in that photography class, and I was like, this is stuff, like, a lot of it, I did learn a few things that I still use, like, today as far as, like, like, organizing files on my laptop and, like, kind of organization type of things, you know? But as far as, like, shooting, I already knew. Color stuff, my own style, I already had, and, like, I wasn't learning a whole lot. And so I kind of felt bad because I felt like an advanced student in a beginner's class.
Yeah.
Have you seen Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Where Andy takes the guitar class. He's like, psych, I was a rock star all along, kind of thing. I kind of felt like that because when we would do print days, we had to have certain prints, and like mine would, sounds like terrible, but mine would blow the others like out of the water because I'd been doing it for so long already.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like, they're like, oh, Alex, but you're so good. I'm like, I don't know why I'm in this class, but like I need credit, you know, kind of thing. But I just like had to, and I didn't. I mean, I don't know. But I like teaching. I like kind of like sharing my knowledge, even though I don't feel like it's that much. But I like taking them out to go shooting, even if it's just like on the football field of each other. Like it could be really boring, but it's like cool to them because they've never like touched a nice camera before or that kind of thing, you know.
Does the school have cameras?
Yeah, we have one kit per student like in the class,
and they return it. I'm assuming at the end.
So yeah,
they have to buy it?
No, they don't have to buy them. So, but for most of the stuff that we do, they can use their phones usually.
Oh really?
Mm-hmm. Huh. I mean, that's what I had to do during COVID. I was like, hey, just take like 5 pictures of the clouds, or take 5 pictures using this kind of color, or like that kind of thing. So it kind of varied, but the idea is for them to be in class so we can go out and take pictures and like make fake advertisements and do a lot in Photoshop and that kind of stuff. So
one of my favorite class I ever took in college was my photography class.
Really?
It's just fun. I don't know. And it's like, I think people underestimate how powerful the photographer is at any event. You know, like think about when the videographer walks into the dance floor and everyone all of a sudden is like, get me. You know, or the photographer is like, yeah, this is your wedding, but I'm telling you what to do. You know, like it's some people don't talk about it a lot. It's like there's like a lot of authority for some reason that comes from being the photographer, because it's like I get to basically say who was important at this event. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think. There's only like there's only been like 2 or 3 times when a bride has like reached out to me and been like, hey, do you have any more pictures of like my grandparents?
Right.
And I'm like, oh, like, yeah, I do have a couple that I didn't give you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you're like, you need to tell me who those important people are to you at the beginning,
right.
so that I can get pictures of them throughout the whole night,
mm-hmm.
kind of thing. But you're right. There is kind of like authority where, like, especially if it's an LDS wedding, you're like at the temple bossing people around, saying, hey, go here. Hey, you're not in this picture. Hey, you get out, kind of thing. And that's probably the most stressful, like, hour-ish of being a photographer, because you can't miss the temple exit, and then you got to boss the family around, because then after that it's just you and the couple, and then you kind of let things unfold as they will at the reception.
I've wondered when people have their exit at like 4 in the afternoon or like 2 in the
it's
afternoon.
Terrible.
And the sun's right above
It's
them.
terrible.
What do you?
I mean, you always just edit the best you can.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a few exits that I like the most. Not Payson. Payson's okay, depending on where the sun is. Obviously, it all depends on the sun.
Yeah.
But Salt Lake is covered.
Right.
Bountiful is covered. Bountiful is super nice because there's those long kind of like corridors coming out of it. That's super nice because it's always shaded.
Yeah.
And
because in Salt Lake they come out of they don't come out of the temple.
Yeah, they don't come out. They come out
that little doorway.
That little doorway, which is hard because it's always shaded. But then also when you're on the steps, if the steps aren't shaded, it's a nightmare because people are squinting.
Oh yeah.
And there's like 50 other photographers there because that temple's so dang busy, or at least it was. But yeah, it is stressful, and you kind of just do it the best you can, and they're understanding. I'm like, well, why'd you pick such a crappy time to get married? You know, I always thought like the ideal like wedding, but the temples close like at a certain time, but would be like, here, do your luncheon first. Do it around like noon, and then like have everybody there. People are fed. They're chill.
Yeah.
Get sealed around like, I don't know, like 5 or 6. Come out of the temple. It's getting cooler as the day goes on, you know, kind of thing. And then you still have time to have like a 2 or 3 hour reception and then call it.
And good lighting, like 6-ish, 6,
pretty
7.
Good. Yeah.
Kind of diffused.
Right now I'm shooting, because the sun sets around 8:45, I'm shooting around like 7:45 for an hour.
Last thing I want to ask you, you mentioned that you're shooting. I see you putting out so much content, and it's good. You know, like, I see people put out a lot of content and it sucks, or people like one every, you know, like it's kind of mind-boggling to me. I'm also not a photographer, so for me it would be way harder to like get to these places, edit these photos, meet these people, and I'm sure you have a system. But I guess for someone who's trying to build a social media, like, as far as your advice to build a social media and to like build a brand and all that stuff, what advice would you give on that?
So I think where I've found the most success has been like to always be creating, kind of the ABC, always be creating, always be on another project and working on something, because then you can tease it, and you always have something to be like teasing, or like sneak peeks, or like a snippet of audio or something like that, you know. But always be also like networking. Like I feel like a lot of my success has been from doing free stuff, like a lot of free stuff. Like I'll like message it, because now I have a lot of contacts and a lot of like models to work with, and friends that are now married that have cute wives or cute husbands and that kind of thing, you know, where I'm like, hey, can I take these pictures for you? And it'll be free, because I think you guys are pretty and it can help me boost my content, and you get free pictures. Like, who doesn't want free pictures?
Win-win.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally.
So I think like for me, it's been here, like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back, kind of thing. And let's grow together. So always be creating, always be networking, and just like be a joy to work with. And so then when people are like, when someone sees someone like, oh, I'm looking for a photographer, you're like, hey, I know somebody. Or I'm looking for a videographer, hey, I know somebody. You know, because everyone wants you to choose their guy.
Yeah. Like
everyone has a pest control guy. Everyone has a guy, you know, that has a trailer. or a truck
Yes.
to help you move.
The truck friend.
Exactly.
The boat friend.
The boat friend, you know,
Yeah.
and you want, I mean, the boat friend you don't want to share. But
Right.
like, you know what I mean? You're like, everyone has that guy for their certain thing and you want to be that guy. So you need to be present. So if that means that you're posting, you know, 3 or 4 times a week, you're going to do that because you always want to be present and show them that you are out creating and doing something with your craft.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think that when people see that, they're like, oh, like he keeps getting better and better and he keeps going to all these like cool places or meeting all these cool people because he keeps getting better and better. So then they're like, oh, like he must know what he's doing. Let's go to him.
Yeah.
So I think that would be like and I tell people this all the time, just always be shooting, taking pictures. Mm-hmm. If you're wanting to be a photographer, just go out with your friends, go out with, I don't know, like I used to, I don't really do this a lot anymore because I'm married. I used to just message girls, be like, hey, would you want to do a photo shoot? Because I've seen that they've been modeling already and something that they do. And I'm like, I only have this many followers, but look at my stuff, see if you're down. If not, I understand, whatever. Right. But then they tell their friends, and then they tell their friends, and then it just keeps happening. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, hey, you take good pictures of me this time. How much do you charge to do like a family shoot or to do like a wedding? But like, it's always just trying to be on their mind, kind of like marketing. Yeah. Like, how can we always be on the consumer's mind? Yeah. Like that kind of thing. So,
I think it's awesome. How do people support you if they're listening to this? Like,
if they're listening,
follow you. Do you sell a course?
My Instagram. I don't sell a course. I don't think I'd ever do that, but who knows? Follow me at Spencer Ryan Photo. Facebook Spencer Ryan Routson Routson. But that's pretty much it.
And you do weddings?
Do weddings. I do portraits, family pictures, even product photography. Mm-hmm. Even like gym stuff, athletic stuff.
I saw that, like what was it? The when you went to Salt Flats?
Oh, that was Lakai.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
right.
They've got some good stuff.
So, like, if you're a company that needs pictures and you have a product,
even like headshots too.
Does it have to be people? Like, do you mean product?
No,
like
it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be people. It can just be. I just did a one campaign for this company called Forever watches. Mm-hmm. They're like Fitbits, but like a little more high tech. And we just did one of their shoots. They were on people, but they didn't have to be. So, but yeah.
Sweet. Awesome.
Anything and everything.
Sweet. And can people reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Reach out to me. DMs work best. But also my phone number's on there, so leave a message because I don't answer numbers I don't recognize. Right. So, but yeah, definitely reach out.
Sweet. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
You're welcome, man.